Get your stinking rat out. It's late night large.
Good evening and welcome to a late night large that definitely wasn't setting fire to police riot vans at the weekend. Sticking a spud in the exhaust is me, Aaron Bliss, and having his testicles savaged by the police dog is Mike Large.
Brilliant. I usually have to pay for that sort of stuff.
Well, yeah.
Usually charge extra, but
How are you feeling, Mike? You recovered after your adventures?
Still a bit sore.
Yeah.
Still a bit sore. Worth it though.
Yeah.
Worth it.
Yes. We've all been lockdown busting, haven't we? No, we haven't really. But yeah, happy Paniversary, everyone. We're recording this on the year anniversary of the first lockdown, when all of our collective worlds turned upside down, and suddenly we had some kind of empathy for our ancestors of a century ago, with the Spanish flu epidemic, almost exactly a century since that time. And ironically, I've seen some photographs, some historical photographs of that time. I presume that they're legitimate. And people in that time were holding up placards demanding jail sentences for people who didn't wear masks. So the more things change, the more they stay the same, it seems. How have we been, Mike? How you been the last week or so?
Yeah, do you know what? All right. It's it is what it is at this stage, isn't it? I think firstly, a whole fucking year. A whole year of my life, a whole year of your life, a whole year of Luis Suarez's life. You know, a whole year of everyone's life basically down the shitter. Now, look. Some people probably won't have had as bad a year as other people. You know what I mean? Some people may have had something great happen to them in the last year. Some people may have, maybe they've had kids, or if they've managed to, they got married, or, they got somehow, there's a lot of negative work-related stories. Some people somewhere might have got a nice big promotion, or a new car, or moved house. Those things have still kind of been happening in the background. So, it may not be, as shitty a year for everyone, or some people might have some good news stories of their own to come out of it. But a whole year, it's been a long time. It's been a long time. I'd say only just maybe I'm letting things start to feel slightly different now with regards to, and I hope I'm not, but maybe I am hanging my hat a little bit on these dates that we've been given, the light that we've been given at the end of a dark, long, gloomy, shitty tunnel. A few weeks now, I can get this fucking mop cut on the 12th.
Don't be a pussy.
So I can't wait for that. I am booked in. Day one, I said, fucking look, get me in there. What time? I don't give a fuck. Just get me in day one. I don't care. You tell me, I'll be there. So I can get that done and go and have a drink in a pub garden.
Get it down to here, Mike. That's where you want it. That's the length you're looking for.
Is it? I can't stand all this business. Obviously I look good, but I don't like it coming over when it comes over my ears, and it just if it was longer, like over my ears, so that you didn't even notice, fine. But it got a way to go, and no.
All right.
I need it. But pub gardens, and then what is it? The end of next month. So a couple of weeks after that, then it's again. There's more loosening? Isn't there supposed to be like you can actually go inside pubs then, or something like that? Or
Oh God, I haven't looked that far ahead.
as an estimate, they've said. I don't know, but anyway, there's each person will have their own little thing that they're really looking forward to, or have their own kind of idea of based on the rough timeline we've been given. So it might be you can't wait to go and get your fucking haircut, and if that's the case, I feel you. A lot of people will be desperate to get in the pub garden and just have a beer at a pub, even if it's not the beer itself, it's just what it represents, that bit of freedom, the being allowed to do it, the escapism, whatever it is. But I don't know. It's starting to feel a little bit different, and I think. I mean, I don't know. What about you? What are you saying?
Well, I mean, you know me. Obviously, I think people are underestimating just how shit things will be, even when things are loosened up. But aside from that, let's just focus it solely on I'm not allowed to do the things I like to do, which is an important thing. I'm thinking back to it sounds stupid, and I do realize I'm in a very privileged position to say this. Privileged in the combination of the job I have and where I live, nothing to do with like family wealth or anything, but I'm very privileged in the fact that back when the first lockdown was announced, like a couple of weeks after that, I was put on furlough, and for some people furlough was nerve-wracking and it was mental torture. For me, it was one of the most carefree times of my life since I was a kid. I loved having the entire day to plan things I wanted to do, projects, reading, art, whatever I fancied doing. I learned a lot. I did some DIY. I went on walks. To me, I don't know. It had like a sense of optimism about it, and the reason I say that is because in the first lockdown, there was very much a sense of unity. Like everyone was in this together. This was a national thing we were all going through, and we tried to help each other through it. You know, the BBC produced special programming. Match of the Day did that top 10, so we'd still have entertainment to watch, and it just seemed like everyone gave a shit about each other, and even the the destitute and the sick people were driving to take food and medicine to them, and it was springtime and the sun was out. I don't know, it seemed like a really optimistic time, and then obviously we had the fucking Barnard Castle, and then we realized that the government were just handing over lots and lots of our money to companies who were not even fulfilling the basic things they were supposed to be doing. Then the NHS staff were being shat on. So I hate the fact that it degenerated into that. And I think with almost any other government in history, it wouldn't have degenerated into that. But yeah, I miss part of where this adventure started. I do think now, unlike a lot of people I know and people I speak to online, I can at least see the world outside my narrow range. So even though that was good for me, I know it wasn't good for everyone, and I know that there's a lot of people really suffering right now. And I think for certain people, the idea of being able to play tennis again, go shopping again with their friends, just sit in a cafe and talk trash about the girl at the makeup counter, I don't know. That would be, right now that would pick their spirits up so much. I have to admit, no, it's true. Even as a hardcore introvert, going to meet my other half at the weekend in Oxford, even though we're only allowed outdoors, just walking around Oxford, buying a coffee, buying a falafel from the van and eating it on a bench and just chatting, just watching the people go by and what have you. It is, it does help the mental state to have those different circumstances and different landscapes and different people that you come into contact with. I'm definitely not going to downplay how much it can be damaging if it's just the four walls and maybe a walk somewhere where you can't meet anyone. So you're right. I mean, there's definitely a sense that we're finally going to be able to do those life-affirming things that we wanted to do again. So yeah, I think I feel that sense that people feel where things are getting better, and in a very narrow sense, in the sense of things that they like to do and people they want to see, they are. So let's hope that the dates are going to unfold the way we hope they will, and things will happen on the timeline. So yeah, I guess that's my sort of personal opinion on how things are at the minute. Have you noticed? Because obviously, Mike, you're on the front line when it comes to seeing the general. By the way, to anyone watching, apologies for the lag potentially on mine or Mike's speaking and visual parts. I'm afraid it's just the shitty bandwidth on my internet connection. I can't do anything about it, but you can still hear us, so hopefully that's enough. So, Mike, you're on the front line. You come into contact with a lot of the public generally. Have you noticed, I don't know, a spring in people's step, or are they getting more of a nuisance, like ruder, or are people kind of just the same as they ever were in terms of their demeanour?
I think a lot of people, arguably wrongly, settled into, it kind of just became comfortable, and almost they carried themselves, the way they carried themselves was as if actually there wasn't a pandemic anymore. It got to that point, obviously wrongly, in that respect, but yeah, I guess maybe when the kids went back to school, maybe there's a little bit of change there. I don't know if that's just because you know, people started to slip back into their normal routines, you know, and that picked them up, or just generally the vibe and the energy from having kids around again, you know, the blissfully unaware. Yeah, okay, they'll be aware, but they don't understand the severity, do they? Which is why it's ridiculous having them at school in the first place. But there we go. You know, they're just bouncing around and being themselves, and maybe that kind of has a bit of a infectious kind of interesting choice of words effect on you know, on those around them, their parents or otherwise. So yeah, I think there's been a little bit of change, probably since the kids went back.
Okay.
Well, I've noticed anyway.
Yeah. No. By the way, I just saw a brilliant dad joke. You know, talking about how popular COVID is because it went viral. In terms of, you made a really good point actually last week, Mike, and in fact I discussed it with someone at work. I thought that was a really good point you made that I hadn't considered about people's attitude about letting their kids run amok in the shop, and thinking like, people, the pandemic is not over. Like, it would be really helpful if you just did really simple things, like made the kids understand that right now they don't have the privilege to just run in the shop with you whenever you're going shopping. That's out of bounds until things have been loosened enough and we know the case numbers are low enough to say, okay, we can take a few more risks now. So fair play. That was a really insightful piece that hopefully a lot of people, I mean, I know not a lot of people, but hopefully one or two people maybe took that on by watching us and said, yeah, you know what, I see what you're saying there, and maybe mentioned it to someone else, because ultimately I think my opinion is I don't know whether this is the social media age has exacerbated this, or whether it's just become apparent. It was always there and it's only become apparent now. But we do live in an incredibly defensive society where if you even mildly criticize or critique a behavior of an individual or a group of people, it's like met with fire and fury. Like, how fucking dare you lecture me? You know, all kinds of excuses, and maybe the conspiracies come out, and it's just like, guys, can we not kind of suggest things to each other and, you know, move forward as a culture where we realize that, you know, we're not saying you're terrible parents for allowing your kids to run amok and touch everything in the shop with no masks on. We're just saying, have you not considered that this is a risk that you don't have to take? And it would be nice for everyone else if you just reduce that risk a little bit by saying to the kids, no, we'll save that for summer. We can be running amok in the shop at summer. But until then, we're just going to keep it on the down low. So I don't know. I don't know whether that's got worse and people have got more defensive and more entrenched in their particular worldview, that they're not going to listen to people and things like this. But here we are. In terms of the year on, I mean, it would be remiss not to again remind everyone, as if they weren't aware enough already, that the 23rd of March was the time when we began the first lockdown. And you know, I know it's a broken record, but remember, this was about 2 weeks after we had been advised strongly to do it, after the Prime Minister had neglected to do it and had also missed, I think it was 4 Cobra meetings on the subject, and thereby adding potentially tens of thousands of avoidable deaths to the total. And I see in the newspaper today, or in the press today, that he said, oh, he wishes he'd done things differently in the first wave. Yeah, well, we all do. And the biggest problem I have, again, is we've had, you know, again, this isn't something that's massive hindsight. Again, September, it was brewing for quite some time. People saying you need to have a lockdown, you need to have a circuit breaker lockdown. If you do it right now, really short and sharp, close everything, we might be able to reduce the transmission enough so then the lockdown could be eased a little bit and we could just have restrictions rather than a full lockdown until Christmas. But again, what did he do? The exact same mistake he made the first time. So forgive me if I don't really pay any attention or give any credit to Boris Johnson for saying, oh, I wish I'd done things differently in the first wave, Mr. Shaking hands with COVID patients, take it on the chin, lest we forget. And Mike, I don't know if you took part in this today, but I say today, we're recording this on the exact anniversary. This is the 23rd when we're recording this. Today at 12 noon, apparently, we did have an official national minute silence, in honour, or not in honour, but in respect of the lives lost to COVID, which was quite poignant. It was, I mean, is it enough? I understand they're thinking of a memorial to the people. I'm sure that people's families would just rather that they were protected better, but you know, a memorial might be quite nice. I think we're looking at getting on for 130,000 deaths at the moment.
Didn't they? Wasn't there discussion about making it, like, at some point? I know we had the minute today.
Yeah.
At some point, actually making it some sort of another kind of holiday.
Well, it'd be interesting.
I'm sure it was raised, at least.
I have to be honest. I would never say no to a holiday, but I don't know about you, but does that not seem a bit weird to have a holiday created because a lot of people died?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does. That's mostly why I brought it up.
Yeah, it's kind of bizarre. I mean, where did you see that? Was that a suggestion by a minister or something?
It was either suggested by or put to one of them. Was it on? It might have. I think it might have just been a little clip or something scrolling through social media.
Yeah.
But yeah. I saw it somewhere. But yeah, you're right. I think that'd be.
It kind of reminds me of, you know, it reminds me of the same kind of mentality as that suggestion that they had after the Sarah Everard murder. You know, they had that suggestion like, yes, we hear you. Women need to be protected, so we're going to put undercover cops in nightclubs. And you just had a face palm, and like, do any of these ministers think things through properly, or is it just like, we're Tories, so if there's a problem, just more police and crack down harder, and this seems like another case of that. Oh, lots of people have died and people are not very happy about it. Public holiday. So what, does anyone kind of speak to real people at all and like sound these policies out before saying them? In terms of Mike, in terms of the vast numbers of deaths, the other thing that I was really interested to see today was they had it was really interesting how it was worded. The Guardian had a report, and I think I'm right in the figures. They said that experts had worked out that 1.5 million years of life had effectively been lost through COVID, and how they then said that they worked that out is after working out the ages and what have you of all the COVID fatalities, they suggested that each COVID death cut short the person's life or potential life by an average of 10 years. Now, I mean, that's a huge period of time, because you're talking about an average. So for every person who's in their late 80s who are like, oh well, 6 months earlier, they worked out an average of about a decade of life that people lost through COVID. Which I mean, that really hammers home, doesn't it? 1.5 million potential years of life lost due to the pandemic. And let's not forget, the individual stories. I know it's just because it's a celebrity, but who's the woman on Good Morning Britain? Is it Kate Garraway? Is that her name? Kate Garraway? Does that sound right?
I think I watch that shit.
Neither do I, but I saw it in the paper again. Kate Garraway, her husband contracted COVID, didn't he? He contracted it during the first wave, so he contracted it right back again about a year ago. He's still in hospital. He's been in hospital for an entire year with COVID. Part of that was in an induced coma, and he's had to relearn how to talk. And even after all that, he's still in hospital. So I don't know. It just hammers home that I guess I'm really aiming this at the dickheads who genuinely think that like everything about this is overblown and that it's not really a threat. It's just strong flu or something that only affects a minority of the population. It's like, try telling that to people whose partners have been in hospital for a year. Or the stories I read about, it seems to be particularly women, weirdly, young women in their 20s and 30s, some of them athletic, who are still suffering from long COVID months after having the disease. Or all the NHS and care workers that have died, or the black and ethnic minority people who've died from COVID. So yeah, I don't know, but that's where we are a year on, Mike.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone would have thought, if someone, a year ago today, I said, Aaron, next year, scope out for me. What do you reckon? What are you saying is going to happen next year? I don't think you could have made up some of it, could you?
You'd have struggled, wouldn't you?
Couldn't have written it.
No.
But yeah, it's been a crazy year, and all I hope is that 23rd of March 22, we get on here and
it was still
going. How fantastic we're talking about how fantastic the last 9 months have been. since we were allowed to do things properly again, and
Yeah, nothing but orgies and
yeah, rather than going, we thought the first year was bad. Do you know what I mean? So it's hoping, but
yeah, it's crazy. Another thing, Mike, another thing that was in the news, I believe this week. I don't know what you think about this, but so the government has decided that, despite again Johnson giving the impression that foreign holidays would be allowed, I mean, I thought at the time, like, is this just trying to appease the middle classes? Because the rest of us are in a fucking pandemic, and a pandemic means all over the world. You know, it's not localized to the UK, no matter how good our vaccine program is going, and it is going well, thanks to the NHS. Thank you, everyone. No matter how well that's going, if the rest of the world is not doing well enough, then we surely have to greatly restrict foreign travel. That's just like a no-brainer. So the idea that you're firing people up and saying, "Oh, we might be able to have foreign holidays," I
think you say there greatly reduce, or greatly restrict.
Yeah.
No, you just fucking ban it. I
mean, some travel is essential.
Fucking, yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm not. Listen. I'm not saying.
Yeah.
I mean, wow.
Is it though?
How much? other than
you were going to say that. You were going to say, is it though?
Other than literally, transporting things like food and vaccination.
Okay.
Is travel other than like I say, transporting vaccinations and food and things? What travel is essential then?
Medical reasons. What if we need a specialist surgeon, doctor?
No. Okay, yeah, but I mean, what are we talking there? Like that, we're not talking about anything like the kind of amount of travel that you would do for a holiday.
I'm on your side, Mike, because I know what you're trying to say. You're trying to say we don't just want to allow like businesses to, bring over this person because they're an expert consultant. It's like no. An expert consultant can wait. We're in a pandemic.
If you travel for work and it's absolutely fucking necessary, you physically travel, then all right, maybe, depending on what it is.
But again, that depends on the
otherwise you shut the fucking borders, no one in and out, and that's it.
Well,
I don't understand what's difficult about that.
No, I mean, well, then you'll be infuriated then, because my thinking was like, can we just grow up and tell the middle classes that there's no foreign holidays this year? We'll all be able to do that shit. Fingers crossed next year, no issue. But right now, can we please just stop the pandemic spreading and bringing in new variants? Can we just concentrate on smashing it this year, rather than, oh, you absolutely have to go to Alicante, or you have to go to a Greek island, or you have to do this because, oh, I deserve it after the year I've had. Yeah, well, fucking try being a frontline care worker, someone paid in fucking bog roll. You're in a very comfortable position if you can afford a foreign holiday. Just be fucking grateful that you're alive and you're probably in very comfortable circumstances. Your foreign holidays will return next year. So that's my opinion. And then we go to the government suggestion: £5,000 fine for anyone going on unnecessary foreign travel. To which I say, 5,000, which is like pocket change to a lot of the people who most want to go on holiday. Like, why not have it, if you're going to do it, either just tell the people at Border Force or whatever, these people need to have these particular forms or they're not allowed to leave the country. Or if you don't want to do that, or you don't have enough staff or resources to do that, just say if anyone's caught doing that, there will be a level of fine will be set according to the person's circumstances, because you can do that. Courts have been known to do that. You know, if you find someone guilty of a crime and they're exceedingly poor, you judge their financial penalty by what they can afford to pay back without putting them on the street. So if you are a rich fucker who decides that they absolutely have to have this luxury holiday in the Greek islands, and then you bring a variant back, fucking hammer them. £100,000 fine, whatever. You know, their selfishness is going to cost the rest of us. You know, it's been said that if the only penalty for a crime is a fine, then that crime only punishes the poor. So, you know, there we are. £5,000 does not seem like a very good deterrent to the kind of people who are probably going to be breaking these protocols. I don't know.
I just don't understand. I don't understand the need for any fines, to be honest with you. What I mean is, just why are the flights happening in the first place?
Well, you tell me, because
why are there these things that people are able to book?
What I see, Mike. What I mean, you could argue that the companies are just trying to get by, but my argument is, I thought we just voted in a government that basically almost their only thing that they're obsessed with is closing the borders, and yet here we are when the borders absolutely must be closed, and we'll offer a fine if you leave the country. Oh, we're not doing any checks on goods or food coming in for the next year. Let's hope there's no people being trafficked on those HGVs. It's like, I mean, how much longer are people going to get conned by this bollocks? You know, I'm sorry. Let me just put it this way, right? You obviously know my opinion. I think if you judge someone by the language they speak or the skin they have, you're a cunt. But if you are genuinely a racist or a xenophobe, or you've convinced yourself that, no, I don't think I'm more important than foreign people, I just think we're full up. If you genuinely believe that, let's set aside how much contempt I have for that position. If you believe that, why aren't you rioting right now that the government refuses to adequately control or police the borders? Why are you not doing that? Could I suggest it's because you actually are just whipped up by the tabloids to tell you what to be angry at? Could that be the solution? Is it that you don't understand anything that's going on? And then it comes to election time and Priti Patel says she wants to hang immigrants, and you say, yes, I want to hang immigrants too. And you don't apply any critical thinking to that at all and go, like, you know, what I'm saying is, I don't want to entirely close the borders, generally. You do, for whatever reason you've convinced yourself of, fine. If you vote for a party based on the fact they've said they will close the borders, why aren't the fucking borders closed? And why are you happy with that situation? Why are they still riding high in the polls? Is it because you people are thick as fucking pig shit? And you're not... Do you see what I mean, though, Mike? If you disagree with me and you genuinely want to keep people out of the country, fine. Vote for a government that promises to do that. But when they don't do it, why are you still saying you approve of them? Is it because you're like led by the nose and the newspapers tell you that they're doing great and you're like, oh yeah, they're doing great? Fuck's sake. Anyway, sorry. On a bit of a rant.
Yeah, you did.
But we've discussed this before, haven't we? It's just people who just don't have basic critical thinking ability. For God's sake, people, just like read between the lines and see what's actually happening and ask questions rather than shouting down any.
I think some of it is as well, like, oh, okay, so said to do this, didn't do it. But when it comes down to it, does it still benefit me personally, financially, say, to still support that party? Yeah. So okay, yeah, they pissed me off because they didn't do these things that I wanted, and they said they'd do it. But actually, my own circumstances are I'm still better off with them. So
Okay,
it.
yeah, no, I see what you're saying. I don't think that's true. The reason I say that, Mike, is the people you're talking about who'd be financially better off. We're talking about generally the slightly more affluent middle classes, really. The people who are most likely to get outraged about the borders tend to be people. By the way, I'm not slagging off my own class. It's not just working class people by any means, but it's usually people who are quite hard of thinking, that they run on their emotions, but they run on their emotions and they don't think things through. So those people are least likely to be doing better off because by virtue of the fact that generally they're not very intelligent.
Yeah, no. The financial thing, that was just an example. And
Yeah.
come on, there will be plenty, come on, there are plenty of rich racists as well. So
Hey, I'm the first one who says that, but the difference between rich racists generally is that they're more civilized about their racism. They will be very careful not to come out and bang the drum for close the borders now, we're full up, because they know that makes them sound stupid and reactionary. To be honest, I have more respect really for people who just come out and say fucking close the borders, we're full up, because they're wearing their heart on their sleeve. They're not bullshitting you. Yeah, they might be disgusting human beings, but at least we fucking know what they stand for. You know, it's better than having someone who go, oh well, we need to tighten our belts and we need to do this, and like, oh fuck off, do we? You're just saying that you're going to make a packet and you hate immigrants, but you're clever enough to know if you say that outright, you're going to get absolutely castigated on social media. So there we go. I don't know. So how are we feeling then, Mike, about the next year? Because obviously we're now into the second year, the second year of the pandemic, which we hope won't last very long. Do you think it's gonna go according to plan? And here's the big one: are we going to avoid a fourth lockdown?
well, do I think it's going to go according to plan? No. Do I think we're going to avoid a fourth lockdown? I don't know. I just really fucking hope. I'll tell you what. I mean, I think I said to you before. If we ended up in a fourth lockdown, I'd be tempted just to go on a fucking murderous rampage. Just, I don't know. I mean, I'm fairly. No, fuck it. No bollocks. Forget anything. I was just about to say. I think I would. I think I'd become very close anyway to losing my shit. And for good reason, because if we did end up in a fourth lockdown, why?
You can't.
You'd have
too far. Yeah, I agree.
You'd have to look at why you are in the position you're in now. What happened? What lies have been told? What bullshit have you been put through? What fucking moronic decisions have been made that have led to it? Because, I'm not, let's not get tied into, the whole, every other country's managed it so much better. And not every other country has. I mean, not many countries have got as shocking of figures as we've got, but, let's not pretend everyone else in the world has handled it perfectly. And there are still things coming out, and other countries are getting new spikes and there's problems, and I'm cool. Do you know what? I get it, but fuck other countries for a minute. Let's just look at our own and the position that we're in and why we're in it. And if we were to be forced into a fourth lockdown, you'd have to just go, do you know what? Actually, enough is enough. Is enough. I can't go. Anyway, you'd have to, wouldn't you? You'd have to look at it and just think, what the fuck has led to this? Was this really necessary? And you know, you can be as supportive or as, yeah, it's a shit job, it's hard, it's tough, and things are difficult, it's unprecedented, and yeah, cool. But at some point, you've got to just go, do you know what? Blame culture doesn't help, right? I don't think blame culture is necessarily helpful in a broad term, sense of the term, but at some point you've got to go, who is responsible for my fucking misery? Who is responsible for how shit my life has been and now will continue to be as we enter a fourth lockdown? Who, why, what, when, all these questions. And I don't think anyone with half a brain could really enter any kind of period of critical thinking about that kind of stuff and not become enraged.
Yeah. By the way, just for legal reasons, Mike was being satirical there. So if you happen to find a pile of dead bodies and his fingerprints smeared up the walls, it's a frame up. It's, you know, it was just satirical. Yeah. It's interesting as well, Mike, the things that we've kind of gotten used to that might be difficult getting unacclimatized to. Like, for instance, you know, we're used to watching football in no crowds now. You know, we're used to not getting laid anymore. We used to Zoom meetings. You know, I'm going to be genuinely pissed off at having to physically drive to locations to sit through boring fucking meetings. Apologies to the people I'm in meetings with, but you know, like, you know, I've attended a couple of Zoom, either Zoom conference calls or webinars for work outside of work hours. So effectively, I've been working for free. But on the plus side, I didn't have to travel anywhere. I could do it from my bedroom, and it worked fine. Technological issues aside, so, you know, in a way, particularly for introverts, the Zoom culture is great. And I mean, for the environment, it's great if we just travel less. You know, I mean, wouldn't it be a wonderful world, Mike? Couldn't we imagine a great future where we, obviously, aside from the jobs where you physically have to be there, wouldn't it be a great culture if the majority of us traveled only for leisure? You know? So we're talking about the majority who can work remotely, all those cars off the roads, etc. But we travel just for leisure. So we travel to see our friends. We travel to watch the football match. We travel to, you know, cut down on those journeys, clean the air up, all these kind of things. But I know I'm just suggesting something that's not going to happen because we're heading for a slightly darker future with the Home Secretary wanting to criminalise peaceful protest. So I don't know. This next year is going to be quite pivotal. And I say quite pivotal. It's going to be pivotal in people's lives. It's also going to be very pivotal in the future of our country. I'm not going to go deep into just how much danger we're in, but, you know, ultimately, it's all of us can help change it. You know, all of us can come out of this with a renewed attitude of love thy neighbor, show my friends I appreciate them, show my family that I actually do care about them. And, you know, there are people out there, I'm sure, who did take their friends and family for granted, were pretty selfish. You know, they might have been an arsehole at times. So maybe, you know, hopefully those people have had enough self-examination to pull their head out of their asses, realise that actually I really enjoy being around these people, and fucking show them that, you know, you really appreciate their company. Don't, you know, basically come out of this a better person than when you went in order to make it a better culture and society for all of us. I guess that's the best we can hope for anyway. Anything to add, Mike? Because I think that's a fairly good discussion.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I think, you know, like you say, be the change you want to see in others. You know, if you want to see a world that functions better, gets on better, appreciates things more, then demonstrate that behavior yourself, and it will inspire others to do so. So that's kind of, you know, all I'd add to
Very
what you
true.
say there. And other than that, don't be an arsehole. Subscribe,
Golden rule.
like, do all that stuff. Share it. Hit the little share button. Post this
Why
shit on
not?
your wall.
Why not? Share it like it was COVID. Except you know, it's a good virus. Make us go viral in the right way
Yeah, exactly.
to celebrate the anniversary.
Yeah. And you know, we're not out of the woods yet, and we talked about there's dates, and we're not out of the woods. You know, potentially we might not be for some time. Hopefully that doesn't happen. But you know, if you've got maybe you've got a family member who's lonely or bored, or someone who is still furloughed, although that's a lot of that's going to be ending again at the end of the month, but it's been extended as well. So there'll be people that are furloughed. You know, the shielding thing's going to finish in it, but you know, send them a link. Send them a link, as long as they're not easily offended, and if they are, send it anyway.
Why not?
Anyway.
Rile them up. Give them something to chew on. And yeah, one more thing for anyone who's gone through this whole year and it's like they feel like the worst they've ever felt, lost their sense of purpose, whatever. Here's a message for you. You made it this far. You fucking survived this far. You know, 127,000 odd people are gone. You're still here. You fucking survived. Pat yourself on the back. And you know, keep plowing on through, because we're on the way out. We still have to be very careful, but things will, fingers crossed, get better permanently. The virus won't last forever if we're careful. And that's it, really. Our unlimited love to y'all, and hopefully you will grace us with your presence next time. And until then, do what he said, like, comment, share, and we will grow you next time.